Hello and welcome to This Week on Planet Earth. I'm your co-host Jacob.
And I'm your co-host Matty. Each week we break down the latest space exploration, science and technology news.
So without further ado, let's get into this week's stories. So I'm going to kick off this week's episode with some nice little space news. So this week, if you're living in the UK, there was a partial solar eclipse. And it was on Thursday morning, June 10th, if you're wanting to know the date. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It just got the moon blocked out the sun. But I always loved these things. When I was a kid, I remember there being a pretty significant one, and everybody went outside with the film and looked up, and it was awesome. All the birds were going crazy.
Yeah, there was something awesome about it just going dark, and it's the cold as well. I think is pretty impressive about it. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So that's it for that little first one.
Yeah, my first bit of news is equally as short. So earlier in the week, there was a big, I think it was mainly on Tuesday the 8th, a massive internet outage.
Yes.
Were you caught up in this at all?
I wasn't. My work and everything survived, and we were all
okay.
Good. I noticed that a couple of the newspapers and stuff were down.
Yeah, a few of my .gov.uk accounts and websites sort of went down, which I actually used, which made work interesting. But yeah, I think another tiny reminder that things are always a bit fragile, aren't they? And
sure. It was crazy how long it took for everything to actually get back up. You kind of forget sometimes. You take the internet for granted. I know we talked about it in length in previous stuff, but yeah, it's cool. Right, so I'm going to move on to a little bit more space news now, and I don't know how I feel about this, if I'm honest with you, but we've got Jeff Bezos going to space on the first crewed flight of the Blue Origin New Shepard rocket, I think it is. But yeah, he's going to be flying to space on the first crewed flight, and I think the flight is scheduled for July 20th, which is just set 15 days after he retires as CEO from Amazon. But I think it's kind of interesting because at first I was kind of like, oh, great, okay. Now you're going to get Richard Branson trying to get up there and Elon Musk trying to get up there, and it's going to be a race for who can get up there first. But maybe Jeff Bezos might get the observer effect, come back down and be a crazy eco warrior and be like, we've got to save the planet. So,
yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it takes... to be honest, I'm not sure I would want to go on the first flight of a rocket. If I'm all for space travel and stuff, and we've spoken in the past that I'd love to do it, but the first flight I think is a bit touch and go.
Yeah, exactly. But as well, I guess one good thing from a marketing standpoint, if he's going on it, he's kind of showing the world that he trusts it, and if it all goes smoothly, I can imagine that's good for business.
I'm sure some employees somewhere are bricking it about having to send their boss up into space as well.
Yeah, the Washington Post did a good article on it because they said that it was like Blue Origin is sending our boss into space. And I was like, that's a good title. But he's also going up with his brother, isn't he, Mark Bezos?
Yeah.
The auction, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, I did see you said about Richard Branson. Is that confirmed? Because I'd seen things that Richard Branson was going to take Virgin Galactic to space and try and do it before Jeff Bezos. And I heard sort of beginning of July they had planned that. But I don't know if it was just internet rumors or not.
I'm not sure. I think there's a space reporter called Eric Berger, I think, that was posting about it. And there was a flight scheduled for Virgin. So people thought, oh, okay, he might be trying to do it. But I think since then they've come out and they've expressed what the actual mission's going to be. And I don't think he's actually going to be on it. It wouldn't surprise me if Elon Musk comes out and it's just like, let's go, Falcon 9 it right now.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to watch, I think. And hopefully it goes well. So my speaking of tech giants, my second bit of news was about the deal that's been reached by the G7. So some quite sort of big developed countries have agreed to target these large tech companies and tax them appropriately no matter where they do business. And I think the plan is that these larger countries are going to try and put pressure on other countries. So countries like Ireland, for example, aren't in the G7, but a lot of tech firms are based there for tax purposes. They're going to sort of put pressure on these other countries to try and make it sort of more equal level playing field, saying, these companies should really be paying tax somewhere, and preferably in the countries that they're doing business. So, yeah, it's sort of. I think on the face of it, it seems good. These companies should be taxed appropriately, but sort of things have come out since then that have sort of taken the sheen off this news. So I saw that the actual plan was they were going to be taxed over 10%, for example, their profits over 10%.
Okay.
Which then means that Amazon are excluded from it, because Amazon invest so much back of their profits back into the business in like their tech platforms and their sort of services and stuff that they barely make a profit. they're one of the biggest companies on earth and they barely make a profit. So they would potentially get around this tax altogether. So, but yeah, I think it is interesting to sort of see these countries come together, and because this has been in the works for years, really long time. So I thought it was interesting to see someone trying to stand up against some of these companies.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. I didn't realize that there was even a shortage, so that's cool that they're doing that.
Yeah.
So before I go into my last little bit of news, I've just remembered that there was some like really cool thing that happened today, and I forgot to put it down in the document, so I'm going to mention it now. Don't know if anybody has seen on the news, but the president of El Salvador has gone laser eyes and has announced that the country will be adopting some form of like Bitcoin into their reserve, which is insane.
Yeah,
all of the politicians of the party all went laser eyes too, which is just nuts as like a marketing campaign. For it to go from being like a meme online to politicians now buying it up for like their reserve for countries, it's bonkers. It just shows you like how quickly we're moving into that like digital currency age.
It's pretty crazy. And speaking of tax, I saw because it might technically be classed as a foreign currency now, you won't have to pay capital gains tax on any big money you make on it. So that's
it's definitely fun, yeah.
But it's crazy though, sort of what's happened over the last year or so.
Yeah, no, it's been mad. There's been so much money made and so much money lost. It's just absolutely nuts. And then one other bit that I'm not going to get into, but it's a lot, and I can imagine everybody's feeling like it. Has anybody else noticed just a massive influx in UFO articles?
Yeah,
I feel like wherever I look, it just seems to be the only subject that everybody is talking about. And I don't know whether to be excited or extremely worried, but it's just crazy. But anyway, it's nuts. But let's move into the last subject. So I thought this was pretty awesome. The Guardian were reporting that a 24,000-year-old organisms have been found in the permafrost in Serbia. And basically...
It's like Siberia, not Serbia.
Siberia. And basically, they're still reproducing. And they're a microscopic, like worm-like creature. And they've been labeled evolutionary scandal by some biologists. So it's quite funny. But basically, they've managed to survive millions of years without having sex. And they have survived in this permafrost for 24,000 years. And then they're still able to produce now. And the entire race is solely female. And they have a resistance to radiation. So I just thought, super interesting. It just goes to show you sometimes like the crazy places that we find life, because we've talked about this all the time with like interplanetary.
Yeah, we spoke about
stuff, and it's just crazy.
About tardigrades, didn't we, on the Infinite Void podcast a little while back? But yeah, I think these sorts of things are incredible, and inevitably we'll be sending these things to space.
Yeah, for sure. We'll want to see how they do stuff, but it's interesting. They were I was reading that they have like a whole digestive tract as well. Like they have a mouth all the way to an anus and everything. So they're like proper little microbes. It's just super cool that they've managed to survive in such a crazy climate and for like so long. Because we like you were saying, we've in the previous podcast episodes we've discussed even like living forever and freezing yourself, and like these guys have managed to do it too. So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's very interesting. But that's pretty much wraps up the news for this week on Planet Earth. So if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a thumbs up on YouTube, because it massively helps us with like the algorithms and everything and getting seen. And if you want to let us know down in the comment section below some cool news segments that we might have missed or that we should include in next week's episode, be sure to do that. And if you want to hit us up on social media or keep up to date with everything on This Week on Planet Earth, you can check us out on Instagram at Twope News. And yeah, guys, we've also got an email, and that is thisweekonplanetearth@gmail.com. So if you want to send in any articles to us or anything like that, you can do that there. And yeah, guys, we will catch you next week.